Good afternoon, everybody. So I have already done the one side so that it would be a quicker process, but this is a tattoo sleeve, so this will be a tattoo sleeve tutorial on application. My cup is currently a tapered, so it's not curved. Curved cups are a little more harder to do these on, but with enough practice and patience, you will be able to accomplish a curved cup. I have done curved cups in the past, so with no further ado, let's get this party started. Okay, so I have half my design here. It is still in the original packaging, and I will cut it down to size. I've measured it out on my cup. I have also put tiny little spots on my cup with the lid on to centerize where I will be placing my design. The mark is very, very small, so you will not see it once the design goes on. And I do apologize in advance for the cleavage shots. Unfortunately, my tripod can only be placed in so many different areas. So, I have my tattoo sheet here, and this is just regular water to adhere it to the cup. And I have my water here, my scissors, my cup, and some paper towel to dry it all off with. I'm going to cut the design while it's still in the wrapper as close as I can to the image itself. I don't want to cut into the image because it does have a cloudy look around it, and I do want that look to be on my cup so it's not so dense and so much of a cut off. I do apologize in advance if you hear my husband and child and our roommate in the background. They are currently playing video games, so this is actually a lot calmer than they normally would be. So you may hear them from time to time. Okay, so now that that's done, I'll take that off. And this still does have the protective layer on it. Keep that protective layer on it until you are completely set up with everything else. I'm just going to set that aside and pull my cup over. So I have this shirt underneath to absorb all the water because I do not have towels at the moment. I have to do some laundry. And I'm going to position my cup in a way that is easy for me to apply the tattoo sheet. I'm going to double check and make sure I have this in the appropriate size. Yep, okay. Going to take the sheet off. Try not to touch a lot of the actual design because it will lift and you will transfer your oils from your fingers onto the actual design. I'm going to try and find the center of it, which is approximately here. I'll keep my finger in that area, and I want to attempt to line that up with the spot mark I've made on my cup. I'm going to bring my design down a little further than the bottom of the cup. Once you have this down, it is down. Do not try to lift it and move it because you will risk taking off the design. So this lines up pretty perfectly to where I was hoping to have it. I did measure out my cut beforehand, so that is good. Now to transfer this over is pretty easy. I have my bowl of water right here. It doesn't really matter if it's cold, if it's warm. Just keep in mind it is a tattoo transfer sheet, so water is going to transfer it onto your project. And I just scoop the water out and add it on. I remain keeping pressure on the actual tattoo sheet to hold it in place because it will, as it releases, begin to slide, but I want to work out any air bubbles that might be underneath the sheet from laying it down prior to lifting it up. And that's just because if you have air bubbles in it, it is going to show up under your epoxy. And it can also pop, and sometimes when the air bubbles pop, it removes that portion of the design. So I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to do the same to the bottom. Now, two sheets like these are very forgiving, so that is a bonus. So you can add quite a bit of pressure to it, and it's not going to damage the design underneath. As I said as well, tapered products are a little bit harder to use. And I do have my end here. My design does come over the end of my cup, so I want to make sure to fold that down. And as my cup is almost done, I can feel that the paper underneath is slipping. So I'm going to put one last good rub down, and then I'm going to lift it from the corner.
Ryder, what are you doing? Hey.
And as I lift it, oh, apparently my son is getting into things.
No! Yes.
I'm doing so. I apologize in advance.
Get out of there.
My husband just took something away from my son, and apparently it's the end of the world. This is what happens when you have children. So there are still some air bubbles underneath it. So I'm just lightly running my hands, putting my hands into the water and running it up the design. I have some big air bubbles in here, so I'm just going to push down on those. I'm not going to rub those until I've released the air. Just because I have noticed that sometimes when you rub it, once you take the protective sheet off, it does take pieces of the design out. And you actually can damage your design and have those air bubbles pop. And then you have like the spot that is missing. So I'm just checking it over. And always make sure that your fingers are consistently wet, because once this does start to dry, there is really no forgiveness once it's dried. You will have air bubbles trapped in it. If you try to rub it while it's dry, you can risk peeling it.
Yeah, I got a list of stuff here too.
See, this area here is pretty dry, so I want to keep it wet, but it's already dried to the surface. Did manage to squeeze that air bubble out, so that is nice. There's a couple in here. Okay, so now I'm going to take my paper towel and I'm just going to gently wipe off the excess water. And look at that. That is absolutely gorgeous and seamless too. I measured it out pretty much perfectly, as each side of the design is touching the other design and overlapping, and that just makes it look pretty seamless. And then this spot here, this cup is going to have a name. Make sure we pat down the bottoms, as this is a custom order for somebody. There, I'm liking this. I'm really liking the way it turned out. So this, if you look at this area, you can see that there's quite a bit of white remaining in this spot, and here, and here. I don't mind that. That's okay. I think that just adds to it. However, because this part is so dark and it does overlap perfectly, I'm probably going to add the name right here, because the name is going to be in black. So with these lighter colors showing up, I don't have to do like a backdrop for it. So I can just do the name itself. So yeah, that is it. I hope that you were able to learn how to do the temporary sleeve tattoo transfer from this video. And if you have any questions, please do not be afraid to comment and reach out. Also, please like and subscribe to my feed. I will be adding more and more videos as we go. I will also include links to the different areas in which I bought my products here. This way you guys know where to get all your supplies from at a very affordable rate. Alright, well, thanks for coming, and we will see you all in my next video. Ciao!